First of all, I want to apologize to Lachi Naboa for explaining Anthony, who is our national speaker in this program. If we were having a program in Sierra Leone, we would have been international speakers. That's what we have in this country. So we know now again to us. But we're having a country, a conference in our country. So he is our guest speaker yet, part of us. And I'm very humbled to have him with us. We have been here and waiting to introduce our other panelist, who is Dr. Ekwando, who is also at seat, which I can actually also will join us shortly. I think you should join as I progress. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Alaji is a very radical one, and we know ourselves and it's been an organization, so if you are a very committed member of the organization, you know him very well. And seeing him physically can attest to who he is, what he stands for, and very impressed with who he is. And I know this is at the beginning of the fact that we have also together. And I'm very well interested that the future has a very big golden journey ahead of us. So I'll go straight to the question, Africa on board. Now, to me, Africa on board, you asked me what does Africa on board mean, and honestly speaking, the reason why this is our theme and this is what we're talking about is that Africa is not managing their own affairs. Africa is not leading their own affairs. Africa is not truly sovereign. Africa is not really in charge of the systems. Africa is not really a parent to the whole ground. We are just living in this territory. We are not only the territory we live in. And that's why the world is in shockwaves. Because for the world to live as a viable world, Africa must play a part. Africa must be involved in the sea. Because we are global atomic. Every continent has a part that he or she must contribute. This one is a continent. So continent Africa has a viable input to give towards the world to the world. And if Africa is left hanging, then the world can't be productive. Because we have our part. We have our input, we have our quota. And if our quota is being administered by a foreign continent, then the world is going to be unbalanced. And the uniqueness of the world will not really see. So Africa on board means that Africa must manage their own affairs. You, my dear brother from the video, you, all of us, we must be on the sea. And we must handle our own affairs. And we must step up, we must rise up to the African call towards making things happen. So for me, that's what Africa on board means. We must be indeed destiny holders of the future that Africa represents. That's how things will go right. That's my conception about Africa on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you for explaining this, because the first thing that came to my mind when I received the question was when I received the team was Africa on board. Africa on board of the world affairs, Africa on the Africa's economy, on board of what? So that was my first question when I received the team. So with this, I would like to find out, do you think Africa needs a permanent seat at the Security Council, UN Security
So basically, it's very insulting that.
Can you say insulting?
Yes, insulting that we are all on planet Earth. We're not in Venus or Pluto, Mercury, or any other continents. We all are human beings on planet Earth who are enjoying, and yet we have only a fraction that determine certain permanent measures for the world, for the United Nations. It's very insulting. And it's that note that I feel that Africa must have a part and must have a permanent seat in the Security Council. Because if we are providing security, we are providing armies, we are helping provide various personnel in various areas, not only in security, in social, humanitarian assistance as well. Africa provides humanitarian assistance to vast countries outside of Africa. If we are involved in the world scale, of course we had the World Cup, we had a World Cup in South Africa before. If these things take place in Africa, then Africa needs to be a key player in how things go. Africa needs to be a key decider of how things go. But here the case whereby we don't see ourselves being destiny takers of our austerity, and it's an insult. We have numerous people who are in this continent whose lives will be catapulted to just about 5 years from today because of a certain decision that people who don't hold Africa in esteem will take. Now, what we must know is that the African core goes far. The African core is our sovereignty. So if you have continents or countries outside Africa that do not fight for the sovereignty, autonomy, the welfare of their countries, do not fight for the independence and the sovereignty and the welfare of other countries, they are not in combination with the African agenda. You know, the African agenda is now becoming a global agenda. So if you have countries outside Africa who do not fight for sovereignty, independence of their sister countries, then it means that they are keeping the Africans out. It means that we are dying and wearing our way. And if we don't fight for our lives, and we don't fight for what needs to be done, we will not want it. This all that we are in and changing our way, and come down to now, then second European or Asian or Australian model, and Africa will do this. So it's very important that Africa has a place in the Security Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have you said that if you are not careful, Africa is
Yes. And not this name, the name is will be there, but our family will continue to bring out. So we live in Africa, but this will become a new territory again of our former colonial parents. Into quote. So it's very prudent that whenever things are going on in the non sacred, we will raise our voices. That's what comes in the house here. Because that we are a team of very solid people who go to the setting for less.
Thank you for your submission.
Thank you very much.
And I will ask Freedom Echo to tell us what do you think Africa needs a permanent seat in the UN Council? Is it possible? How can that be possible?
Very well, thank you, Madam Moderator. If I got your question right, you were asking if it is possible that Africa gets a permanent seat. Yes, it is possible. Africa is a continent, and within each continent has several African countries. Ghana is a region of Africa, and likewise other countries. Africa has come a long way. It didn't begin now. Many are the policy implementations, including the SDGs, amongst others, that has brought Africa to its height and to the peak that it is now. So I think it is a gradual process where, as African voices, we champion things like these in our various regions. In our various countries, where we have a voice and then we contribute to the global network, catapulting or utilizing the technology and then the digital spaces available to us as a continent. And you know we are in the 21st century, and it's usually AI is taking most part of our human or physical jobs in our workspaces. It is possible for Africa to take a seat at the US Secretary or Secretariat. We've come a long way, and so I believe should Africa stand on the current technology and the digital inclusivity in decision making, when Africa is on board anywhere, anytime, we can contribute our quota. And not only contributing our quota, but as African voices, we are voices, and so we should equally take the first step, what I call the bold step, to be part of policies that affect not only you, the voice, but the community in which, or the region in which you find yourself. In our days, nothing must stop us from Africa having a seat at the highest level.
So, what is preventing us now?
Prevention? Well, I'll say it is our own human needs. I'll mention one: corruption. Let me even use our current dispensation in our politics. We are in a country, and then you find leaders championing or money ministry sectors. Now, what do we see? We see various scandals. We hear them each day, and then you ask yourself, how can a country or a sector perform creditably well without the infiltration of corruption or corruption-related activities around where our people find themselves? Number one, what is preventing us? I think number one is corruption. I will also say too, would be our own devils with each other. I say this because we are in a region and we tend to stop progress or hinder progress of the community or where we belong to. Africa on board, and Africa having a seat at the highest decision-making body. I feel that we must tend to stop being our own evils or our own devils. Aside from corruption, we must wait and see ourselves as one. Most probably, you at every point in time in your life where Africans are gathered, there is some point of or some trait of hate. And to succeed, I don't believe it is an individuality something, but a team, a group of people coming together. And as Africa, should each region get together as one and then stop hating on others, I think that we can have Africa to be a very beautiful place to live in the not so distant future. So what are you doing us? I think I can give two on top of my head now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, I would ask Freedom Giants Echo. Pichu, sorry. Pichu, I will be asking you, do you think it's because of corruption and because Africa is not one, it's not united, that we do not have a permanent seat in the Security Council? And is it possible for us to have what is the what
Thank you very much for the question. The United Nations General Assembly held in September. It was an eye-opener to the fact that Africa is really on board so far as managing affairs is concerned. I paid my attention to the speech delivered by our every president, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And all comes back to get louder that Africa can really be part of the security, permanent member of Africa. This is a continent that has about 1.5 billion people. Each year we have 34 million population. And when we check the statistics, about 60% of this population are under the age of 25. Now, it is also a continent that is present like this. It has a lot of conflict. We are always at the front. It is a continent that has a lot of raw materials that we give to the world. It is a continent that is always preaching peace. Igbo is one of the peace ambassadors of our time. The only thing that I think is preventing now is the situation of voice. If I want to go into this in detail, I would like us to go back to even the days before where Africa used to be the one that decided to do. Let's go back to the days of the Ghana Empire. Let's go back to the days of the Mali Empire. Let's go back to the days of the Congo. Let's go back to the days of the Sinai. When we have power for ourselves in the continent, when we have international, we have a sophisticated economy, and we are able to do our own affairs and we are able to achieve a great thing. Fast forward to the 50s and beyond, the Western world decided to come to our shores. We decided to take away the world that we had. We came in the name of trade, commerce. We allowed them, and later on, which is politics, and later on, they come to humanity. We took away almost everything that we had. Now, fast track forward. Because our voice as a people, we are able to stand up on our feet again and decide what exactly we want on our feet to do, what exactly we want for ourselves. At that time, we are abroad. If you listen to President Mahama, he said that the worst crime that has ever been committed on the humanity, on the race of man, was slavery and colonialism. And Africans, when I West Africa, at that point in time, it's as if because our body, because our mind, we don't have a way. But after the sleep, we were able to come out and work. That was Julius Nyerere, Senator of Senegal. We have Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. We have Nelson Mandela, Stanley Akpos, and Seth Ahmed. Now the time is again right for us to take what we are going to. So when I listen to them, I listen to Ruto, and I listen to Mahama, and the 80th human rights, I realize that the sense of belonging, the sense that we are right to do to support our is genuinely, we are really realizing who we actually are. Yes, of course, it is just a timetable that we need to have a second. Because we cannot have to go to we cannot just cast away the 1.5 billion population of the world aside and think we can decide what matters or not. Whenever there is war, whenever there is misunderstanding, it's part of the military that I think is best in this country to make sure that this is I think this is our speaker, our man, is a good part of their energy. Those that are supposed to sit on the cream and national conflict, and people were even complaining about who have to do that, issues of conflict. So it is just an issue of the world realizing that this population can expand. This population can be run. It's been a long time that they think themselves to be a 50 hours when they think they have the wisdom to decide our fate. But it's time we let them know that we have come. We want to be part of the decision making. We want them to understand that Africa is not a continent like an asylum. Africa has come to stay. We are not ready to allow us to talk ourselves. Let's see how they do. So when we chasing them back, I don't think we have a choice. We are just allow ourselves.
So, from what you have just said, we said, unless if they will not allow us to pass, we can just cut ourselves out of course.
You see, we are talking about a global economy, a global economy, where we are all part of the community. But how do you expect to be part of the community where you don't do mistakes? Africa has about 54 countries.
But remember, everyone was saying something that we are not united. So, do you think we can come together and say, okay, either we are there or we are out? Is it possible? That's the other.
There is one small boy, he's from Kenya or Uganda, who was speaking about the internet. Last time I was listening to him and said that he had ever had the chance to be at the African Union summit.
You ask them some questions.
Question, the person what are you doing business?
Exactly.
Okay. Yes, of course, I think we have come to a stage where we need to realize that the only way we can go forward is to get it. And if we want to be truthful to ourselves, uniting the various things of the entity that have been the agenda of Africa, this is where the United States. So when we talk about the United States of America, it's not older than the ideology of the United States. We can see the ideas that we need to practice. We can come together. I don't know what exactly. You see, one thing that happened that I think has been our blueprint is the fact that we introduced imaginary borders. That's the lead us. Every country went to show something and look inside the place actually involved, the place and the way you want to go. But then we should realize that that is not what we have. If you go to if you become you claim that Ghanaians and so our foreigners are so good. But I can tell you our brothers are the other part of that country. If you go to Nigeria, for instance, the bottom, some of them in Nigeria, some the value is of island. So what we are just trying to see that let us realize that the imaginary lines and contours that were created by our European groups, it's not real. We need to come together and then go after these people for the sins they have committed and atrocities they committed in our land. So So, unless the boss want to achieve that, I don't want to see a situation where Africa will be at the mercy of the West. No, they will be at the mercy of ours. Because they have the, of course, Britain was the one that had national revolution, of course, and then what sustained the national revolution? It is Africa. The raw material they needed to feed the Africans were all coming from Africa. It's today we want to industrialize our economy. It's today we want to change the face of our country, our economy. Then they will be standing and we will be doing what? Aside, look at the population of the world. If you go to the Western world, Europe and others, they are kings. And look at Africa. How the promising workforce of a 60% population below the age of 25. Now, our population is 1 billion or 1.5 billion. And look at 60%. And look at the number of youth that have. Surely. So, you don't want to be part of us. You don't want us to be part of the security council. You don't want us to have that people power inside us. Then the best thing is to be out.
Right. Thank you. I'd like to, will you tell us what you think about
Beloved, we need to believe in your question. Beloved,
do we need a permanent at the UN Security Council?
thank you very much, Madam Moderator. The issue of Africa should never be underestimated. And if we could remember the civilization in the world started in Africa, the human being started in Africa, and still Africa is moving. So the issue of UN Security Council is just a mere imbalance and injustice for the continent of Africa. We deserve more than a seat in UN Security Council. At least we should be in the diplomatic decision making in the Security Councils. Reason being, we have been sending our personnel for the peacekeeping forces, our logistics, our resources have been going for the United Nations Security Councils. So nobody should underestimate or take Africa lightly. So we therefore need 3 or 5 permanent seats in the United Nations Security Councils. That will be correct. That will correct the historical injustice. For far too long, we have been deprived. We have been deprived without giving no substantial reasons why Africa should not be on the Security Council. You can't bring food on the table here for me and you two to eat. You have started eating, then you said, because I don't have spoon, I will not come and eat. Why can't you say, look at a spoon or go for spoon, let us come and eat together? So this is really what is happening now in the United Security Councils, UN Security Council. You should not say because of corruption or because of we are not there or because we are in the third world, we should not be part of the United Nations Council. We already have the logistics, we have the policy makers, we have the framework that is already in the grounds for us to be at the UN Security Council.
We appreciate you for your answer. We don't need one. We need at least 2 or 3 seats.
Exactly.
At the UN
Exactly.
Security Council.
Yes, please.
So we will surely get it.
By the
We
grace
are
of
working
God.
on it.
Yes, we are working on it.
Okay, so I would like to come back to freedom video. Yes. Because you mentioned neo-colonialism in your submission. I'd like to find out from you, what do you mean or what do you think about neo-colonialism? And do you also think, or how can we, Africans, liaise with other partners in the world to benefit from every beneficial things from them?
Thank you. See, colonialism has modified itself in Europe. In the speeches of the we have warned us that we have won the war, we are now going to do. That's it. We shouldn't drop our backs because there is another treaty in the form of new Pakistan. You know, when you find yourself in a place which the presence of a group of people, you are liable to lead to people like that. To begin to show that this idea is stupid. And I think that is what exactly happened to us as Africans. We have lost our heritage. Our culture has fallen flat. We have been groomed by the ideology, and it has now become a fact that we feel that anything we have to do it on God's terms. And that is what the real religion is all about. Our food, we no longer have interest in our food. If I should tell anyone in this room that we are going to invite you to an employer party, the person will tell you that all that you feel. I feel like we are having a pizza party, right? We'll be happy to join. If you say that, okay, let me take you to my room, let's go and have some Ajami. Maybe probably any of these St. John or any other persons coming to Africa, you can have programs for this. We will prefer to go there instead of going to that. All we are trying to say is that our mindset can grow. We do not see any importance in what we have as a group of people. Our educational system has been corrupted. All the things we learn are white people. Our education is not even talking to our culture as a people. So whenever we take the direction of the world. Now, with this form of colonialism, leadership, our economy, our ideologies, our way of thinking from culture, dressing, music, our adaptation, everything has changed over time. If these things have changed, how do we have an African perspective? It is not going to be okay. I feel we should stop fighting parts of a group of people who don't really see our value. I feel it is time for us to begin to shape our own dream, to begin to take on a different path. We have all that it takes to survive as a country. I think when we begin to do that, those who realize that they cannot survive without that, will join the party. Then we will now be at the end of affairs, and they will now have to go to our duties. Whatever we say that to be, if they are aligned with it, we can. If they are not aligned with it, we can go and survive whatever they want to survive. It is high time we stop fighting for the security concern. I don't think there's anything that wants to say.
So, do you think we should not be part of it? We should not place with the global powers?
Who are the global powers? Who are the global powers? No, who gave them that? When did we go to the world and say that, okay, let this country, Russia, United States of America, Great Britain, to become a political power? Who gave them that? Okay, it is just because they took advantage of our innocence. When they came in our, that really innocent, they took advantage of our charity. When they came in to drink, we accepted them. And then they relied on our conscience. And then they took advantage of us. And we became their slave. They have dominant power over that. And then we decide to call themselves LGBT powers. No one knew they took power. Okay, no one knew they took power. So to me, you should ask me, alright, the UN is not by force for us to do it, or to be part of the Security Council. If they don't realize that Africa is a growing continent, Africa has come to the realization that the way Alhaji said, we have the logistics, we have the name, we have the ideologies, we have the institutions. When it comes to our role now to see the world, we have it. So if they are not ready to now begin to listen to us, to realize that it's our time, it's our aim. We are now the people to free the world. And they still think that we have the power. They should be. Let us rather come together, unite ourselves, and form a better force. We will join the We'll see. So for me, for the idea of five,
Thank you. So, Freedom Triumph Echo. Who named that title? And do we, even this one, I can't even ask the question again because if the title is not there, how are we going to address this? So, what's your word on this question, please?
He said, can you come again with your question?
Okay, so can we liaise with the global powers? How do we liaise with them and also make sure we benefit of everything we need to benefit from them or from the world without allowing neo-colonialism to influence us? And how do we even prevent neo-colonialism? By talking about global powers, PTO was saying, who even give that title? So if the title doesn't exist, how do we even ask the question? So I want to know your view on this. Thank you.
Oh, okay, all right. I get it. First of all, Africa must be on board. In fact, there is a man here today on the team. Once Africa is on a global stage, we become beneficiaries of what Africa deserves, because Africa deserves better. Neo-colonialism featuring here or it appearing again, I don't think we can stop it. Some way, somehow, as Africans on board global platforms, we will tend to face it somewhat. How do we combat this, or how do we minimize it? Just by forming formidable groups that will stand against any efforts of neo-colonialism. But the most important thing is that when Africa is on board, we must be on board first. First off, we must be on the global board first. Then we can, when we formulate this formidable group or formidable structural, maybe let me say one or formidable force, then any efforts of that what freedom is talking about, we can actually, I would say combat it, but face it head on, because where Africa has come from and where we are going, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so that's formidable force coming as one. It draws my mind back to my point earlier, as I said, unity, and on we will get there. Thank you.
Unity. Thank you very much. And with unity, you will come to the president of African Voices International to ask you the pressing problems of Africa. What are the problems that Africa is facing? And do you think with unity we can solve it?
Thank you very much. We want to know the problem that Africa is facing. We think we need to come to the fact. I think that we are are facing the issue of traffickingness and greediness, and that has become an accepted norm in this area of the global south, whereby greediness and trafficking expectations and all these kinds of preferential